All right, good morning. We are looking at lesson 2-3, subtracting integers. We'll kind of build on addition or change these to addition problems, but we'll look at the learning target of subtracting integers and evaluating expressions. Remember, our additive inverse, all right, is an integer and is opposite. For example, 4 and -4 are additive inverses of one another. Subtraction's relationship to addition. Subtraction is simply adding the opposite, right, or adding the additive inverse. So you can change any subtraction to addition. For example, 6 minus 8 is the same thing as saying 6 plus a -8. Right? And so I see that I have a positive 6 and a -8. So they're opposite signs. I'm going to subtract, right? And 8 minus 6 is 2. Since the negative value, right, when I take the absolute value is bigger, it's going to carry more weight, which means that my answer should be negative. Okay? I want you to pause the video here and see if you can do the next 5 problems here as examples. And I'll talk specifically about subtracting negatives here, but I'd like you to try it yourself without a calculator. So pause, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, let you check these first two, right? 12 minus 9, I changed to 12 plus -9, right? And that's really unnecessary. We should be able to do 12 minus 9 and get 3. It will be positive because the 12, the positive value, is bigger than the negative value. -4 minus 10 changes to -4 plus -10. So they're the same sign, right? So I add those values together. They're both negative. I leave it at -14. Now, -3 minus -8, right? So I'm going to go -3. I'm going to change it to an addition, and I have to add the opposite of -8, which is +8. So -3 plus 8, they're opposite signs, right? So I'm going to subtract the values. 8 minus 3 is 5. And since 8 is larger and it's positive, my answer is going to be +5, right? Now, you don't have to put that positive sign there. It's understood to be a positive. 4 minus 13. So I'm going to go 4. I'm going to change the minus to a plus. And 13, opposite of that would be -13. So I have a negative and a positive. I'm going to subtract these values. 13 minus 4 is 9. Since the negative is a bigger number, I'm going to leave it as a -9. Here we have 12. I'm going to change that to addition. The opposite of -8 is a +8. Right? I don't really need that positive there, but just so we know, we change that to a positive. So 12 plus 8, they're same signs. I'm going to add them. I get 20. Right? And it's positive since both of those values are positive. Okay, and I know that's a little bit confusing when we're subtracting a negative value. And let's see if this helps us understand. Think of it like a bank account, right? So let's look at an example here. So we start off with $100 on our credit card. Okay, we have this gift card that has a positive $100 that we can use to spend, right? Maybe you got a little Visa card for Christmas and it handed out $100, right? We'll say, thanks, Aunt Linda, for the nice gift. And let's say that you charge $15 for gas, right? That shows up as a minus $15 from your account. Okay. Let's say you spend $50 on a new video game, right? That's a subtraction of $50 from your account. Okay. Now, you spend $10 at Chick-fil-A for their delicious chicken sandwiches with a side of Chick-fil-A sauce that you put a little bit on this chicken sandwich and dip your French fries in the extra. And then you spend $10 on candy, right? Those are all negative, right, coming out of the $100. Okay. Let's say then you decide you don't like the video game, so you return it. Okay. This means you're subtracting a negative value. You're taking a negative value off your account, which really means that you are adding it, right? So if we look here, if we change this, we would have 100. We're adding a negative 15 because that's a charge, right? We're adding a negative 50, which was our charge. Anytime you have double signs there, they like to put it in parentheses, right? We have an addition of a negative charge here, right, for the gas. We had, or excuse me, that was Chick-fil-A. And then we had a negative $10 we spent on candy. And then we're changing, right, this to addition, and I'm adding the opposite of the negative 50, right? Which, if you think about it, if we take a item and return it, we get a positive credit on our account, which is the same as taking away a negative credit, right? If you think about that, you had a charge of $50, you take that charge away and it actually adds money onto your bank account, right? So essentially the negative 50 and the positive 50 cancel out. We would have subtract 15, right? We'd be at $85. Subtract out the Chick-fil-A, we'd be at $75, right? We've used those both. And then subtract out the 10 more, or add the negative 10 there, and we'd be at $65. Whoa, that looked like an 8. $65 left for us to charge. Just plenty of money to buy a few more chicken Sammys from Chick-fil-A. All right, and I know that can be a little bit confusing, but think about that. When you're taking away or subtracting a negative, right, you're taking away a charge, which really adds money to your account. All right, take a few minutes and see if you can answer these subtraction problems, right? And I think it'll help. No calculator, I think it'll help to change them to addition. So pause the video here and attempt these problems. All right, so looking at the first one, we would have a negative 8, right? So we're going to go change this to addition. Opposite of negative 9 is positive 9, so we have negative 8 plus 9 should be a positive 1, right? The positive 9 is bigger than the negative 8. So here I have 5. I change this to addition. The opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. Here I'm going to leave this as 18. I'm going to change it to addition. The opposite of 23 is negative 23. So here's what I'd have: plus a negative 23, right? So their opposite sign, subtract. 23 minus 18 is 5. Since this is the bigger number, right, bigger absolute value, and it has a negative sign, we leave it as negative 5. So here we have negative 4. I'm going to change this to addition. Add the opposite as positive 9. Again, change this to addition. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. So I have negative 4 plus 9 plus 6. Adding does not matter the order, so I'm going to start here. 9 plus 6 is 15. And then I have negative 4 plus 15, opposite subtract. So that would give me 11. The positive value is bigger. It stays positive 11. Number 5, so we're going addition. Opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. Addition, opposite of 8 is negative 8. and that's already addition, so I'm going to leave it. So I have positive 4, positive 4, I have a negative 8, and I have a positive 3. So I'm going to add the positive value. So there's 8 plus 3 is 11, plus negative 8. Opposite sign, subtract. 11 minus 8 is 3. 11's bigger and it's positive, so it stays positive. So here we have 0, and we're subtracting out a negative, right? So I'm going to change this to addition. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. All right. Evaluating, right? Evaluating gives me what the variables are. So when we have that, I like to put parentheses around just the variable and not the sign. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert what the value is. So I have a negative 4 here for x, subtracting negative 5 for y, subtracting a negative 2 for z. Okay, I'm going to start by changing, right, to additions and adding opposites. So I'm going to change this. Addition, opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. Change this to addition, opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So 5 and 2 is 7. I have negative 4 plus 7. So they're opposite signs, subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. 7 is bigger, the positive carries, and I'm left with that. So take a minute, wherever you see a variable, right, put parentheses around it. So I'm going to start here. I have plus 6 plus y. So I'm going to take these values. X is negative 4. Y is negative 5. Right? And it's already an addition problem, so I can just continue on. Let's do the negative values. So I have negative 4 and negative 5. That would give me negative 9 plus 6. Opposite sign, subtract. So I know that 9 minus 6 is 3. Since the negative is a larger absolute value, my answer should be negative 3. All right, work on example 3 and 4. So pause the video here and work through those. All right, starting off, just writing the equations or writing the expression, plugging in the variable. So here I plugged in negative 2 for z, minus, and I plugged in negative 5 for y. So when I solve this, I'm going to change it to addition by adding the opposite. Okay, so adding the opposite. So now I have a negative 2 plus a positive 5. Opposite sign, subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. The positive value carries the weight. Here, I'm going to change this to adding the opposite. I'm going to change this to adding the opposite. So I'm going to start with these positive values. 2 and 3 is 5. Right? And if you notice, I have a negative 5 and a positive 5. Those will cancel. So I'm left with 4. And it's a positive 4 as my final answer. All right, your practice problems are on page 72, and you're going to do numbers 3 through 11, 28 to 38, 47 to 51, 60 to 62, and number 69. And it should be on a separate sheet of paper, and your work should look similar to what you see here on our examples. All right, you should do it by hand, and you can use a calculator to check your work. Email me with any questions, and hope everyone has a great day. We'll talk to you soon.